I have a change to the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no news on the building site, and so I respectfully request that we cancel the executive session as it is unnecessary.
Does anyone have an issue with the librarian's request?
I move that we strike the executive session from our agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oops,
Aye.
any discussion?
Well,
No.
I have discussion. You'd think there'd be some news since we.
No news is good news.
Yeah, everything's going fine, but if we're not going to have executive session, then there's not really much to report.
If there's.
It's not worth taking your time to report it, but everything's fine. Okay?
Heard that before.
All right, so that is taken care of. So on to the minutes of the previous meeting. And Mo, just a technicality from me, minutes are minutes. There's no such thing as draft minutes. If we disagree with something, they can be amended minutes, but minutes are minutes.
Well, that's fine, but like they are kind of draft minutes until they get posted. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
but that's
until
okay.
they get approved, they're not approved minutes. And so,
Ish.
well, I have to have ways to keep them straight. From now on, I'll just say not approved minutes or something. I mean, I have
They
to have
could-
two versions, because you see what I'm saying in my little computer? I have to have
Okay.
two different versions, otherwise.
All right, go ahead and call them draft, but I have
Fix that.
been to some meetings lately where there's a great deal of preview of the minutes to correct before they're presented at the meeting, and it's like, no, minutes are minutes.
Say draft on there anyway.
That's on the agenda. It says draft minutes. Mine did.
Not on ours.
On the agenda.
Yeah, on the agenda it says draft minutes. All right.
Oh, I see, as the attachment. Got it.
Yeah.
That's the attachment. Got it.
Okay, so after that quibble, does anyone?
Move that the minutes be adopted as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Took care of that. Citizens, would either of you like to say something? Please note there's actually two citizens in the audience. Okay, they're both former board members. Library director report.
Alrighty, on the statistics, as I've mentioned in the past, we're holding very steady with last year's statistics, so we're like 99-point-something% of last year at this time, and which is interesting because March tends to be a very big a very big month, obviously no matter what the year. So March is a very long month with no holidays, and it has spring break, so there's always extra attractions at the library, so that seems to create an environment for higher statistics, which is a good thing. Cultural passes are hanging in there. Disc cleaners being fully used. We're excited about that. And then in my report, we have been very busy. We have a lot of events. A lot of them are being planned. They have to be planned like well in advance. And I handed out one of these upcoming events. Is that John down there where you and Ryan are? You have to share one. It's quite big enough. Sorry. That is not. This is something that we have been doing for a while. It's not really something that goes out with our press release, but it's kind of a conglomeration of the upcoming events for the next, kind of an overview, a quick glance. And we changed the format of it, so it's a trifold, which is just so much nicer than a full sheet that always flops over in the holders that we have. And this one I thought was really kind of interesting to see because there's so many teen events that are upcoming. So we're really trying to, we have it's kind of just fallen out that we have a gaming night once a month, and the last gaming night we had 25 teens show up.
Wow.
Which is like amazing for a teen event, And we just feel really good about that. And then they have the Crafternoon, which I think is a darn cute name, coming up, and the YouTube video night where they're just going to watch appropriate to the age group YouTube videos. which will be fun. And we have a teen blog that's up and running now, and that's the same people, Peter and Jenny, the same staff that kind of do all these events. They oversee the blog to make sure that it's all appropriate. Nothing goes up without them seeing it. So it's kind of slowly building, but it is building, and that pleases me a great deal. Another thing that we have been doing a lot more of collaborating, and it finally dawned on me because somebody said something to me one day about where are all the teens, and one of the parks people said, they're at the pool. And I was like, duh, collaborating on an event with the pool might be smart.
Oh.
So that little seed has been laid, and of course the pool's really busy season for their staff is like right now all the way through the summer. But we're going to try and get together with them in the fall and then maybe do an event like a pool party gaming night or something like that at the pool, because they have this huge community room there that goes unused quite a bit. Maybe for like next Christmas break or something. So that's the kind of thing where you do have to really think quite far in advance, but a lot of these things can pay off really nicely. So I thought you guys might like to see that. And then we're also, speaking of collaborating, we are also going to sponsor one of the movies in the park at the end of the summer. Once I realized that was a possibility, I thought, well, we might as well do one and try it. And just it gives us a whole kind of like forum of people that we might never see. And we're going to do, we got to choose Hugo as the movie, which is appropriate.
Totally.
Yes, totally perfect. And that will be August 24th.
So at Wesley Lynn or at Library
At
Park?
Wesley Lynn.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they've got the setup all figured out and everything.
Wow. Good
And
news.
then another thing we're doing is we're collaborating with the senior center. Kathy Wiseman has got like a great facility that gets used a lot during the day, but not very much at night. And she's got like a liquor license and places to cook food and have food and everything else. So we're gonna try and we've got some pretty definite plans now to do a documentary film series next winter over there and have like a little wine and appetizer kind of thing, plus discussion afterwards. And we're getting some Clackamas Community College English professor people, English department people, who are really, really excited to work with us to be the moderators. And we'll also be like kind of reminding everybody about the civil discussion ahead of time, and
providing wine
and civil discussion. No, let the fireworks begin. Let the fireworks begin. And we're going to have them on Friday, so they're going to be our first Friday film series, starting in November. And we're planning on doing 5 to get us through March, and then hopefully it will get us through the dark months. And then we're also talking about doing a 50-plus series and kind of hit the baby boomers directly, because that's a big push in the library world. And you want them in so many ways. You want the baby boomers, because they're great volunteers. They have money, they have time, they have wisdom, they have a lot going on for them. Speaking of for myself, I think that's right. We have lots of wisdom. So we're also talking with Kathy about the
First
possibility
compliment I've had in a while.
Really?
of trying to do something, collaborating with the senior center on that, because she does seniors, but there's kind of this big age group in the middle of people that we think could be really prime for some fun stuff. So what else? I wanted to report to you about the population figures that we were talking about before, how our population seemed to have decreased. Well, so I know I told you that Joanna Rood and I were going to get together to start looking at some budget projections for staffing and stuff for the future. And we had a preliminary meeting about that. And as we were talking, this came up, and she said, well, the population figures that we've been working with were just projections. They were just estimates based on a formula that was supposed to be a good formula, but obviously that's not what happened. So it's not that your population went down necessarily, but those people probably never existed. This 2000, they only get counted every 10 years, and even those figures are off. It depends on if people fill out their census. So I've been going through some of the voting things, and I don't have anything specific right now to report to you as far as figures, because they're not adding up to what they're supposed to add up to, so something's wrong with that. But I do think that our perceived problem is just perceived. It's just like, until we have actually census figures, we're just guessing, or they were. And I don't think they're going to continue doing it that way. I think that the county from here on out is just going to use the 2010 figures until 2020. And so just use hard figures. That I have to check in on that, but that's what I think the plan is. And so I just wanted to let you know that it's kind of a lot of worry over nothing. We didn't lose a lot of people. I mean, yeah, definitely our figures went down, but now it's based on real numbers, and before it was just based on an estimate. And so how this affects us is, some things are split up by population and paid for by population, but as I understand it, the money that comes in our area is the money that comes in our area. So I need to do a little bit more checking in that, but that I wanted to report to you what I had found out on that.
Doesn't the county just act as a pass-through for the funds collected from the homeowner?
Yeah.
And probably the reason we're down a little bit, if you look at the trend, it's down a little bit, is probably simply because of foreclosures and delinquencies.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I mean, some of that.
You'll probably see
yeah.
a bump a year or 2 years down the road as those get cleared out.
Yeah, well, except that a year or two down the road, we might be getting in, the collection rate might be higher, but the population, I'm not sure they're going to adjust the population.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to track and see. So I just wanted to let you know about that. And then my neighborhood association visits have been going really, really well. I've been inviting myself to all these neighborhood association meetings, and I think I've only done 3, but I've been feeling really good about doing it, and I think maybe I'll just keep planning on doing everybody once a year or something, because we find plenty to talk about, and it's like I just get invaluable information from people going out and meeting them, at these meetings instead
Like
of
what sort of information?
Well, everybody's like really interested in the building, of course. We just start there. We just go hit brass tacks. And they have lots of ideas about where it should be, and a lot of those ideas align with what we've talked about, which is really great, which is really good to hear. And they want to know if we've checked this, and they want to know if we've checked that. And, I have to kind of I can't really be specific, but I've told you we like the hilltop, so we're going to follow up on everything on the hilltop, And then people ask a lot about ebooks, which I'm able to fill them in on, and also about the fact that, the publishers are not being exactly ebook friendly to libraries right now, because it's a real new business model that everything has to get figured out. And so I can make them aware of some of the services we're offering as far as learning how to use your ebook and come on in and we'll do this for you and that for you. So just things like that, where I'm able to convey information more one-on-one than, or, not one-on-one, but the big group can hear it. And then also I can talk about the bond thing right now too, which is great because everybody wants to help. And I say, well, the way you can help me is,
Just jump in, huh? Like you used to.
tell your neighbors
Oh, I
what's really going on with this bond measure when you see it on the ballot whenever it comes up. That I said, just say yes. And so it gives me an opportunity to explain it to them, which is really good.
Technology.
Yeah.
I missed the little red hat on my screen. It's going.
I have a comment.
helper.
Am I up?
You were up.
At our neighborhood meeting last night, which was quite full, so we couldn't invite you, but you are invited for July.
Great, thanks.
The school board made a presentation about the $7 million they have to cut from their budget versus the $25 million they cut the previous time, and the closure of schools and all of that. And one of the things that came out in the discussion was that there aren't as many kids in this district as there used
That's
to be. And so they're getting all this excess capacity, and they can't afford to run nearly empty schools. And so that's why they're starting to consolidate, which isn't really tickling the parents a lot. But I wonder if that's, it's a curious thing that and our population figures would kind of come up at the same time.
Yeah, if you look at the demographic information from the census,
Yeah.
which I've kind of put that together in a little, I don't have it here today, though.
That's
I've
right.
put it together before, but you can see that this area is definitely aging, and there are fewer kids. And so, I mean, obviously that hits the schools right where it matters, you know, when you get money per kid. So I'm not surprised that they're down money.
The other thing is that I guess there's 3 properties now, the Park and King and what's the other one?
Mount Pleasant.
Huh?
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant. I guess they're looking to sell them, lease them, find some other use for them, or all that kind of stuff.
I haven't heard a final decision on the Mountain Pleasant one. I don't think it's done yet. I think they have to decide by April 23rd, pretty
Yeah.
soon. But what I was told they were leaning towards was continuing to use Mount Pleasant in some way, shape, or form with their middle schooler aged kids. That's
But-
kind of the tentative plan.
But the cry came from our audience that, hey, we'll just put a library there, you know.
Well, you know, I would look at
Sure.
Mount Pleasant Library. I mean, I would look at that building if it was available. But as far as I know, it's not available.
Yeah.
But if we learn differently, I think we should look at it.
Saying what the people said. I'm off.
Yeah,
All right.
great.
Tape Fred?
Yeah, just-
You're not next, he is.
Just briefly, Mo, just because if you hadn't listened to NPR today, Apple and 2 of the publishers are being sued because of restrictions, price fixing on, basically price fixing on ebooks.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And Linda and I were talking today. We have 5 Kindles that we bought, and we're going to load them up with titles and circulate them like they did at Lake Oswego, and which is kind of one interesting way to get around the whole price of what they're doing to libraries. You know,
Right.
because something that was $30 2 months ago now costs like $130 or something. Those are the ebooks only. But we were saying how we kind of hate to feed the giant beast of Amazon, but on the other hand, it's it's got a lot of titles. So yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's something that will be happening soon. I'll report back to you on how that goes, circulating those things.
All right.
So while we're talking, under my report here, I did put a copy of the budget, the proposed budget, in front of you. And this is the exact thing that is going in the, it's the exact thing that got published in this big, huge monstrosity, which is what the Budget Committee starts looking at next Monday night. In the past, we've been lucky enough to get our budgets passed in one evening, but they actually schedule 4 evenings just in case. So next Monday, I'll be there to answer any questions. And so, you guys have basically already seen this. On page 108, as the numbers are there, if you look all the way, almost all the way to the right, to the column next to the far right, is the proposed 2012-13. That's the income that we're getting. So that's that $1,720,000 figure that we discussed, as well as the income that we think we'll get from fines and miscellaneous. And the bottom figure is always like really funky because David always adds like all this carryover and stuff into it, and that adds up to the $2,700,000 figure that you see at the bottom. I mean, obviously, $1,700,000 plus that stuff that's there has to include some carryover. So that beginning fund balance and carryover and stuff is what he adds to make it that big. A bunch of the stuff that's carryover goes into our reserve. It's not money that we want to spend. That's money that goes directly towards savings for the building. So once, I really, and of course this is just an estimate because the year's not done yet. So we have to do it so far in advance. So, I'll report to you guys like next August or something and give you a better figure on that.
This ratio figure,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't press my button here.
No, no.
But we're at 96.9% of the year. Is that what that represents then?
No, that's the ratio of this year to last year. So our income went down 4%.
Okay.
Yeah, which we, of course, knew about was going to happen, unfortunately. But fortunately, our income going down a little bit is not going to impact us as much as, like, for instance, Canby's income going down, which is also happening. And so I'll try to keep you in the loop on district-wide repercussions, because they're losing $40,000, but their income from the district is less than $800,000, and they have to pay more back to their city institution in the way of, like, charge back things for HR and finance department and stuff. We pay virtually nothing. It's like a benefit that the city provides to us, which they basically provide to all the departments, but they do it differently in Canby, and so it's really has the $40,000 on a smaller budget with bigger chargebacks has a much bigger impact down there, and they're probably going to be cutting down to 40 hours a week, which is bad for the district. It's very bad for the district. You know, we're at 56 hours, and they've been at like 50 or 53, so it's not good. So then the next page is just, you know, proposed expenditures, and it's split out into two pages. One is personnel and one is expenditures. So these should not be news to you, these figures.
And we looked at those a couple of meetings ago. or
We
so.
did we looked at them before I ever submitted them to anybody.
Yeah.
And you guys were the first people to see them. So, and it's all very close to essentially what we first talked about.
Any questions?
I did the test this week.
Thank you for giving us the numbers.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted you to have
That's
a,
where
Dawn,
you
thanks
can
for
see you.
reminding me.
I can see
Yeah.
it. Do you wanna get-
Here, I'll take mine.
Claire would like to.
It's showing up on my screen, not hers.
Oh,
There's something that I guess I didn't know about. In charges for services, library, audiovisual, what are those charges? On that page 108, charges for under library fees, and then there's library audiovisual,
Oh.
$2,000.
yeah, what is that? That's our income. What is that for?
Oh,
That's
that's
the rentals and stuff?
Do you
guys
have
have-
rentals?
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
the
we have
daily
rentals,
rentals. Yeah.
Rental, what?
Overnight.
DVDs?
Yeah, DVDs. We have rental DVDs.
And regular DVDs.
And regular
I see.
DVDs.
Okay.
Yeah. We might phase out the rentals and turn them into a Lucky Day collection. I'm not sure. But at any rate, yeah, we make actually significant money on our fines and stuff. Oh, and it's National Library Week, FYI.
Yeah.
And we're doing, we matching fines. And I can't tell, we make a lot of money this week when we do matching fines.
What's that mean?
That means that.
If you have $40 in fines, you only have to pay 20.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what it means. Someone who has
Yeah. And so
Those
it's a
rotten
great-
children.
It's a great time to
Not
bring
them.
in your books if they're overdue, your items, whatever they are. So,
Not sure my request to speak showed up.
No. No, but I'll accept accept your verbal request to speak.
I just heard about that the other day.
oh, the matching fines?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I wondered if there was a way to, on generating revenue, to do the matching fines by finding an outside sponsor to match the fines.
Ah.
I mean, it's not an unusual thing.
Mike's
Oh.
not on? It is not.
It's pointed away from it.
I'm just, I'm
There we
sorry.
go.
Okay.
How's that?
You're gonna have to share with Laura.
Okay. So, I don't know how to approach this, but it's done a lot with matching grants.
Yeah,
I have a comment.
I will.
It's so negative, an outsider looking at fines, someone trying to cheat the library. Now they're trying to cheat the library out of what they really owe themselves. I'm not sure how positive
It's
people would
okay,
feel about promoting.
Well, my thinking was that there's a lot of people. I stand in line and I watch these people. They don't pay their fines. They've got missing books, missing. They just don't. So, you can come in and pay half your fine, and this outside sponsor will match the other one and get the whole thing brought up to date.
Well, I can see what the advantage.
There might
for
be a
the
positive
patron.
spin on that somehow.
But the
Yeah.
sponsor, do I want to pay someone's fines because they've been negligent? I'd rather donate to the library than sponsor something like that. And I
Oh, it's
know
just
that
another
people-
angle to
Oh,
donate.
I know it sounded good at first, and people work the system too.
Sure they do.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I do.
you do. Yeah, you are an awful person.
Wait till this week to pay your fines.
Oh, you awful person,
Well, I feel like I'm glad that the money goes to it, and there are times where you do forget a library book, and I mean, it's not by lack of care, it's just a sense of,
No, I understand.
Especially with kids.
and DVDs and things go missing. So I actually am very thankful you guys do the matching fine thing, and I think that, for a big portion of the public that you serve, $20 is a big deal, and you do want to, if you can save $10 to do it, there is that appreciation of paying your fine too. So I think if I were a patron and saw that there was a business sponsoring that matched the fine, I do think it would be a positive thing. But then I clearly don't carry that that stigma and connotation with me when I see that you guys offering it. So
Yeah, the only problem with matching fines, and it is that for the people who never have them, have never had fines, they don't get any real benefit out of it. And so we're always trying to figure out a way that we're helping all populations, not just the people who have overdues. But so sometimes we give out those little cards, and that can go towards fines or rentals. And so as long as we have rentals, then people who might not consider renting a DVD because it's like, a bestseller or whatever, that they might, But so that's the only drawback I see. If we're going to have fines, then I like to help people pay them every once in a while, because most people, like you say, are like you. It's not intentional at all. And we just want our materials back so they're available for other people. That's all we want. So, but yeah.
Matching fines doesn't cover lost books, so lost book
no,
items
no,
is a
no.
whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing. Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Note when you're requesting to speak, you need to have the current agenda item lit up in blue.
Thank you.
So we are on the monthly report and stats. If you touch that on the agenda, then your request to speak will come up on my screen.
Wait.
So have we completed the library director's report?
I think so.
So we are at mission and strategic planning review.
Yeah, so when I first got here 2.5 years ago, I thought, we should revise our mission. We should do this. We should do that. And then I thought, I don't have time for that. We need to work on the building, and what else is there to do besides that focuses us on everything? And then we were so busy moving and this and that, it just kind of went away. But in the last few months, I've been thinking about this, and it's like having a strategic plan would really actually help. And when we get to the design part of the building, it would just be able to. We would then have some public feedback. We would be a lot more directed and focused on really what's right for Oregon City if we just have some of these things in mind. And the mission that we have right now also is just it's so stale and dated that it just needs some revamping. So I wanted to throw some things out to you guys. First of all, let's just look at, if you don't mind, the outline, the one-page thing that's an outline.
Mission and planned outline.
You bet. There we go. So I started this actually a little while ago, and then I don't know what happened. The holidays, Paris, who knows what happened. But I definitely got sidetracked. But I did start with the staff, and I got some input from them on the mission statement, a vision statement, and there's kind of 8 major areas in the library, which are, staffing and collection development and blah, blah, blah. So I already got their input, but what I don't have input from is the groups that support the library, which would be Friends Foundation and Library Board, and then other stakeholders, the public. So what I've done is I've borrowed heavily from Wes Lynn's quick and dirty model of strategic planning, and started with their survey that they used this past year. And Linda and I sat down and just revised it, the heck out of it, and made it more appropriate to what we thought would fit Oregon City. And also, threw in a couple of questions about building stuff, because we want to find out about building stuff. While we're asking questions, we might as well, confront the elephant in the room and just ask. So we've done that because we would approach the public stuff from kind of a two-pronged approach. We would have the survey, which we could do for quite a long time. Even I would suggest have it up on the web, have it at the library, and even have it go into the summer so that I could get up at Concerts at the Park and promote it and at our table at Concerts in the Park and stuff like that. Have that, and then at some point in time, have also a stakeholders meeting where you guys assisted me by helping get information from people so that it wasn't just me there doing it on my own. And if we could get people to come to the library and talk to us about some of these areas that staff have already input on, where would you like to see growth in the children's area? Where would, services, collections, that kind of thing, because that information is going to drive then what that library ends up looking like is the thing. People don't need to tell us what the library looks like. What we need to hear is what they want from us, and then that drives what the library ends up looking like and how we can best serve what they say they need. So that was my approach on this, and as I readily admit, I'm just kind of copying what they did at Wes Lynn, because she's a very experienced, wonderful, sharing library director over there, who's going to actually present the same information at our Oregon Library Association conference in a session. So I'm going to sit in again just to make sure I've got it. But so first of all, does that plan sound okay? Okay, good. So you're all on board for helping me in whatever way I want.
Yes.
Excellent. Who's what?
Who's tabulating all of the stuff at the end?
The survey is going to be on SurveyMonkey. It'll do it for us. Yeah. So I got a little SurveyMonkey account. It's really inexpensive. And, we can post it on our website and Facebook and all that stuff. So, so then I did give you a copy of the survey, and I don't know if you've had time to go over it, but we don't have to talk about this tonight, but I'd really like feedback on the survey. Yes.
I'm desperate to talk about the survey. Well, I used to do this a lot.
Really?
Yeah, and what I see here, what I see the general public might perceive this as being really intimidating, because it goes 8 pages, 10 pages.
Really long, yeah.
It's really long. So I've done some heavy editing on my copy that I printed out to show you how you might cut it down to maybe 4 or 5 pages.
Great.
And make it not so intimidating so they can
Great.
flip through. I had my wife run through it just as a test case, and that's what was her comment. I said, "Wow, it seems like it's kind of repetitious,
long to me, too.
repetitious, and I didn't understand this, and there's
Great.
things,
Great. This is excellent.
cul-de-sacs in there that didn't make any sense." So,
Excellent feedback, Don.
so I'd like to work with you on it.
I would love to work with you on it.
All right.
It's a date. Okay. And then anybody else, if you've got thoughts about that. How about if Dawn and I get together, work on it, and then we send it back out?
That
How's that
works.
sound?
That's a
Okay,
good idea.
that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Sounds really good to me, too. Okay, so that's the survey. Then the other thing that's kind of part of current strategic planning processes is this thing called guiding principles, which was basically the values lens through which you look at things. And I don't want to identify what those are for the community. Diane over in West Lynn, that's what she had her library board identify what's most important to them. And I kind of think that as our elected, appointed board, that's what you could do for the community. For me, Oregon City, you could like look at. Unfortunately, there's not like this list anywhere that you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. You have to kind of like they're of this ilk. They're these kinds of things. This is what other libraries have selected. You know. And I think this takes some time to think about as well. I'm not expecting that we just like walk out of here with results, but that's what I would like you guys to do for me, is to like identify for me what you think the guiding principles are, the lens through which we should look at things. Does that make sense? Okay. So the best way to do that would be, because you know, all I could come up with so far in my process was providing this information.
Do you want to put a? Oh, I've got a speak thing. Do you want to put a deadline on this?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would love to put a deadline on it so that we could, so I could kind of like start assembling some of this stuff into like a draft. It's going to end up being like a report, you know, and those will be stated in that.
Is there any specific number you would like
No,
to reach?
if you look at the list that I gave you, you know, a lot of libraries chose like 4 or 5, but some of them went crazy. So like the Boston Public Library, they've got 8, and they all look really good. The New Madison Public Library's got a bunch. You know, the one I really like, let me find it. See if I can find it. If I don't have it, I'll shoot myself. Like, did you see we had extra copies of everything? You got it. Great. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. Linda, what was that one we really liked?
Wasn't Camden, was it? I don't see that here. I think Madison went a little overboard.
These kinds of things are usually fairly succinct, and they're not a book to read.
No, you want to be really
I would say that
straightforward and
Yeah.
succinct.
More than 5.
Huh?
I wouldn't say any more
See
than
if
4 or
I asked
5.
to speak from the
I think that would be fine.
No, not when I'm in a document.
Yeah, I would say 4 or 5.
and then is it the plan then? If I'm pressing my speak button. Is the plan then to build the goals and objectives out of the mission statement then, using those words?
There you go.
I always look for accountability in these things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice to throw out a mission statement. It's nice to have guidelines and principles, but if they're not measurable in some way, then how do we know we've moved forward, or have we just come up with more
Your
words?
strategic plan has to have goals that are measurable. Absolutely. Your guiding principles don't necessarily need to be measurable. Those are values. So, but they guide you as your mission statement. If everything you do, if it can't come back to your mission statement in one way, shape, or form, then I think that you're doing the wrong things.
Right.
But your goals, yeah, and objectives or whatever, I always get those mixed up. They need to be measurable. So yes.
Okay, Claire has asked to speak.
I thought you had asked us to do this ahead of time. I'm sorry, I
Right.
spent some time.
Excellent.
And I think this, you can pass that on to Mo if you want.
We are ready to receive your information.
One thing that I was noticing, that there's some things you may not want to emphasize depending upon what sort of library we'll have. Like maybe if you really emphasize intellectual freedom, then you have to be willing to back it up. Some of these libraries, their statements said reading, encourage reading. Of course, we encourage reading, but that maybe gives a mixed message at this point in time where you get information from so many other places. Also, one thing that a mission statement can really have a real big effect. At Lake Oswego, I was starting a program to take historic photos from that another organization had and add them to our database. Not to take over their photos, but that we would include it, and it was really a service for them. And they asked the library to include then in the mission statement that preservation of historic resources was a value that this library, because that would indicate that we're going to stand by and really protect these in the future if we put it in our mission statement.
Right.
So I had to go through the process, did that, changed the mission statement, the
Wow.
city council had to approve it. But, so it does really affect what you say, can affect. And also these grants I've been looking at for the foundation, a lot of them want to, you better show that the mission statement is supporting what you're asking for. So it's an important thing.
It is an important thing. And the mission statement that we have right now, to provide the materials and services that give all members of the community access to the knowledge, experience, wisdom, and dreams of humanity in order to enrich their lives and assist them in meeting the challenges of a rapidly changing world. It's like so non-specific. It just is like,
You don't want your
meaningless
mission
practically.
statement too specific.
I agree.
Well, I know,
I
but
think you should
this is like, it just rambles, and I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me as a librarian.
Or jargon.
Oh, it's too readable for that.
One of the statements in here was not too much jargon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Laura?
It's kind of hard because I think I'm going to say something related to something, and now it's kind of moved away. So
Go back.
it's now my chance to talk, so I will. I do. I mean, reading this, the mission statement that we have here, it is. I agree completely. Yes, it has to be general, but you need to have it be. It needs to be much more tighter. And I mean, you could use the word tools, which could mean technology, could mean other things, but dreams of humanity. I'm sorry.
That's the one
No
that-
offense to anyone who came up with that, but that's just kind of like, I mean, there's all sorts of dreams. We don't necessarily want to include all of them sometimes. But I think that if we could maybe set our next meeting as a time where we could come back with that idea of looking at our communities and our own circles and saying these are the values that I see present or you see present, and sort of start to formulate it from that. I know we were charged with that earlier, but I think having the time to sort of share it with others and come back, I mean, is that what you want? Or
I think you guys needed to hear a little context too. Was
Yeah.
probably helpful as
Yeah.
well. So,
I say just steal New York's mission statement and be done.
well, and we might end up with that. Who knows? But
I like
a
it.
version of it.
yeah. And then we need to figure out a way to agree on it as well.
Get on the list again.
I mean, I also
Well,
think
and
that you
also-
as the director, I mean, I have
Yeah.
to say that, I mean, we're an important part
Yeah.
of that puzzle, but
Yeah.
it's your leadership that's going to
right.
decide
Yep.
really what the priorities are, so.
So that's the other thing is like, I really want you guys to decide on the guiding principles. I want information and feedback on other things because there's other stakeholders.
So rather than sitting like this, do we want to schedule a work session where we can cut paper up and play
That
on
would
paper?
be really
and-
fun.
Have chalkboards and all
That would be
stuff.
really fun. I think it would be productive if we could find a time that maybe another Wednesday.
I'm also,
evening.
do people
That
use
would be
Google
really fun.
Docs? Because this could be something that would be a nice way of using a
I
Google
use
Doc.
I use Google Docs.
And that way
Kind of,
everyone
sort
can
of.
pop it in and out and make revisions.
Okay.
Could we perhaps on Wednesday, the 25th, meet at 4:30 someplace where we can play with paper?
April 25th, Wednesday? No, I'm sorry. I'm at Oregon Library Association.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
because they're in-
be like that.
I'm
Sorry.
out of town too.
Sorry, I'm presenting.
Well, I guess that kind of counts.
Are we going into executive session on the 9th?
We are not tonight. There's
Are we on
nothing
the
new to
9th?
report.
On the 9th? I don't know yet.
Okay,
That's the problem.
We won't know till we know if we have something to report.
okay.
Well, we can certainly start this via technology. I mean,
It might
whether
be a
it be
more efficient
email or
way,
something
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Pardon?
That might be the most efficient way to start it.
Yeah, because I can be like the collator. Even if we don't use Google Docs, I can collate everything.
It's not as interactive, though.
No, I think it would be, it's helpful to like actually hear other people's opinions and play with paper. I mean, actually, Karen, I agree with that, actually. It's always worked well in the past when I've done that, to write things and stuff. Yes.
I'm on the list.
I believe you. I'm
Is
not
there
in charge
another
of
day
that.
of the week at 4:30 that might work for people?
I'm open.
No. Mine are pretty full.
Okay.
It depends on the day.
May 2nd. Oh, city commission. Well, I only have to be available.
I was going to say
At
the
7.
first and third
Yeah.
don't work very well.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we did it at 4:30 and there's no urban renewal.
There's always urban renewal.
Not always.
Well, how about if we start electronically and I send out some dates?
Yeah,
Great.
do that.
How about just instead of trying to figure this out tonight? Okay. All right, I'll get us going tomorrow. Claire, I'll post what you gave me, okay?
Okay.
That'd be great.
I'd also assume that you want us to think about, I mean, the conversations we're having are, like you said, going to shape the building that we have. So leaving ourselves open to those guiding principles of saying, you know, like you said, what do we want to see in that happening in that space?
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, the same thing that I ask the public, I want to ask you
Yeah.
guys. You know, it's like, what do you want to see happening? And what services do we need to, are we doing a great job at? Do we need to expand on? Do we not even have? You know, what about historical stuff? What about, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of avenues. What's important to this, you know, community? I mean, speaking of history, I kind of think that's important to this community. How is that reflected at the library? Through what services?
Hidden away in
Somewhere else, instead of another organization.
hidden away in long-term storage that should be coming to the museum. We'll discuss that. Oh.
Yeah, not if it's library stuff. We'll work on it together. But you know so should the new library have a history room? Out of our 20,000 square feet, is that something that's so important to us that we're going to dedicate space to it? That's what I want to hear from you guys. Well, there's, yes, there is a question. We're not, no assumptions up front.
Part of that's education, though, because there are probably very few people who know, and probably even fewer who care, what the Oregon collection is
But
made up of.
Here's the thing, even if we didn't have a collection, if history is important to this community the way it seems like it is, then that is a value that exists regardless of the collection.
Okay.
You see what I'm getting after there?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it about this community that is
We're just
so
lucky we have a great
integral
collection.
to this community that we can identify and say, this is the value, here's how it shows up. Here's the value, here's where we put our money.
Okay, so next step is to kind of get our heads together on guiding principles and mission.
Yeah.
Get that to you.
Yeah, and how about if I start it with an email that kind of breaks some stuff down into tasks or something like that?
Okay.
I mean, you've got the general concept now, you've got the paperwork. And I'll give you a little more direction so that you don't have to remember everything we talked about. Okay.
Use that.
Sound good? And if you don't respond, he lashes with wet noodles for you.
Can I speak? I was on there, and then nothing was happening. So.
Once you go, you disappear. You go, you disappear. Yes, you may.
Well, okay, I remember from our discussion with the city clerk and all that stuff about, boy, you just can't do business via email and all that. Are we in that business now? Are we doing business via email?
I'll ask her, thank you for bringing that up.
All right.
Yeah, good point.
I like to state
Just make sure you archive it all.
You're so good, Vaughn.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And so the stakeholder meeting, design and participation, did you want to address that tonight, or is that just put it on our radar?
Let's just put it on our radar, and then as we go through this stuff, let's think about that. But we were thinking something like at the library. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a lot of space, but I just don't think we're going to get enough people to come to another location, unless we have a way that people can participate. And this might be something we want to add, that via like having the table at the concerts in the park or something like that. Something that we could design that would get input from people at multiple spots. You know, so I'll put more in my other thing about what those areas are that we want people to give us feedback on. Besides the survey. Survey kind of covers a lot. And all right.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Trip to Estacada Library.
Well, it's tentatively scheduled for not this Friday, but the following Friday on the 20th at 1 p.m. But Anna is very, very flexible. And could I just see like a show of hands of people who think they might be interested in going? 1, 2. Either one of you guys? It doesn't have to be limited to the library board on this.
Not on that day.
Okay. All right. So,
I could go another time just by myself too.
yeah, very small group. See, I've never been, so I'd really like to go.
Well, we could just go, the 4 of us could go.
Yeah, so the 4 of us could just go. I just need to be in Eugene by like 4 or 4:30 that day, so I'm wondering if we shouldn't just choose another day. Or earlier in the day. Wait, are you available earlier in the day?
Oh, sure.
Okay, all right.
Well, we had talked, originally we were going to go to some Multnomah County Libraries branches too.
Yeah.
Maybe Gresham, or say maybe another day and combine, you know, where we can put more time.
Okay. Yeah, I forget even which branches those were. I can look up that email thread. Okay, so get back with,
It's a little more interesting when you see more
Yeah.
than one library.
yeah, it's just that Estacada is like so far out there.
We'll go to the new Sandy one while you're at Estacada.
Well, we could easily do that. That would
See
be
how
good,
their
too.
remodel went.
That's a good point.
Are we going to be talking to people there? I'm just,
Are you shy?
Only, we usually get a tour from the library director when we go to these places, so that you can see staff spaces and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, yeah, because that's a huge part of all those back room places are important
won't-
for us to see.
You won't get the dog and pony show we got with all the fundraisers and everything when we went out. They put quite a show on for us. It's when we were thinking about trying to form a district to actually raise the money to build, and that's what they had done. So they were giving us all kinds of marvelous advice and brought all sorts of people in.
And, I'll include everybody in the emails just in case something changes for somebody, or Don, like if we add on another library and you want to go to
I
that
would
one.
do, yeah, if there was another library.
Yeah, or Karen, I know you've been to Estacada. a lot,
Well,
too,
I kind
so-
of helped build that one.
Yeah,
I was
I
going
know.
to say,
Oh.
if Don would please clarify that he's already very familiar with the Estacada Library.
Well, my daughter-in-law works there, so I get all the news.
Didn't want them to feel bad if they watched the streaming video. All right, who is providing the Friends report? Feel free.
Hi, everybody. At our meeting just earlier today, it was reported that we had 385.25 hours of volunteer service this month, and that brings our yearly November to March total to 1,841 hours, and that includes 22 active volunteers, including 2 new ones. The farmers market has been scheduled and might have some tweaks, but it's going. I hope you all know that the Friends take books to the farmers market, the summer farmers market, from May through October. And so that's been scheduled, and there was no report from the bookstore.
You didn't pick up my spreadsheet? Oh, it's in the in-basket. All right, any questions of the Friends? On to Foundation.
Foundation, there was no March meeting, though there was a very large fundraising discussion on email, because we're not a public body and we can do that. We can conduct it. And so we had, there's an upcoming meeting on the 23rd at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
And we didn't have a meeting in March because that was when the 213 was closed and it was Mo was instructed to work from home, and
Yeah, I
whatever
said,
reasons,
"Stay
difficult,
away."
difficult to move around the city. So.
Thank you.
All right, is there any new business or any report from a board member? Going, gone. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn until May 9th for our next meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nicely done.